I'm going to show you how I put this clear sealer on with a darker door. This door is the exact same profile as the doors I did for the painted furniture look. I just happened to have a kitchen job immediately after that job in which I painted the doors to look like a nice mahogany. But you can see that the clear coat is kind of milky, and when it goes on you can see that a little bit better on a darker door than on the white doors. Now when you do the center part of the panel, you're going to get a little bit of drips and overflow on that groove around there. If you can see that white spot there on the groove. If you were to let that dry, it would dry kind of an opaque white. So when you do that groove around there, you want to make sure you get all the drips and everything from the center panel up. You don't want to see that milky white drip there. And you just use a little bit of this product. You don't load up the brush at all. You just want to put a thin film on there, especially for the first coat. The first coat's always the hardest. Not that it's hard, but it's harder than the second and the third coat. Once you get that first coat on there and dry, the second and the third coat go on really easy. So I'm just brushing that around there, putting a little bit of product on, not a lot of product at all. If you put a lot of product on, that's when you get the buildup and you get that opaque white when it dries. So you don't want that. You just want a thin coat. And you can see on that one end there, on the very left end of the panel, a white dot there. Well, that's just from the overflow when I did the top of the panel, and I'll brush that out when I start on that side. Right there, I'm just going to brush right through it, and it disappears. Notice I haven't been putting very much product on the brush because we just, like I say, I want to use thin coats on that. Using that thin profile Worcester Chinex brush, which I really like. Just take a little bit of product in there, that's all, not much. I'm dipping that brush maybe a ½ inch in there and wiping off both sides before I start. And you'll notice how using that Lazy Susan there is just so nice. You can just spin that door around, make sure you're getting everything. If you were just had it laying flat on the table or whatever, you'd have to pick it up and move it. But the way I use it there, you can just put your fingers underneath of it a little bit, spin it all around. Now I'm working on the sides. And one thing is, I do the edge when I do the front, like right there. I just made that edge stroke. You want to make sure your brush is angled high when you work on those edges, like I am right there. Because if you don't, then the bristles of the brush will go underneath and get on the back side of the door. And when I'm done with each edge, I take a damp cloth like I did right there and wipe underneath just to make sure nothing gets on the back. And it also cleans up that edge on the bottom so that nothing's dripped there and builds up. This particular profile door is really hard to do. That little thing where I'm working on right there, that little groove down there, it's a challenge to get it all. But you can see what I was talking about in these videos of putting the clear on. If you get the light source going right, you can see whether you missed or not simply by the sheen of the wet product as opposed to when there is no wet product. So that's what you really want to look out for when you're doing it. Just make sure that you got the light source right so you can see what you're doing. And the other advantage of doing 3 coats is even if you miss a little spot, you're going to get it on the second or third coat anyway. So I just keep that brush angled high when I'm doing that very edge there. And you want to move along at a good clip too. You don't want to, take your time. You just want to move straight away. When I get that done, I'll take my damp cloth, wipe it underneath to get any excess that might have gotten there or any little drip on the edge, what have you. And when I get it all done, I kind of take a good look at it, make sure I don't have any runs anywhere, drips, anything like that. Kind of wipe underneath that last edge there. Kind of take a look at it, spin it around, make sure everything's fine.